Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our final seminar for 2023 of the Retired Living True series. And today's topic, I guess we need the little slide clicker, is the truth about leaving a legacy. So I'm just curious, what does legacy mean to all of you?
A legacy to me means leaving information about things that are important to us for our children, not just physically, sometimes they don't want those, but that they know what is important to us. And for our grandchildren, again, that when they mention our names, they really know what we stand for.
Wonderful, thank you. Who else?
Legacy to me means how people remember us when we die, after we die. What kind of impact did we have in various ways with our values, and whether we supported charities or spiritually or with our children, and what kind of a person we were.
Wonderful. Anyone else want to share their definition of legacy? One more.
To me, it's leaving behind tangible and intangible assets that continue to have an impact on the world going forward, not just family, but family, community, and beyond, so that we can continue to have a positive impact going forward.
Wonderful, yeah. So we all perhaps have a slightly different interpretation of what legacy means, and that's fantastic. So I have a couple of expert panelists who are going to join me just shortly to talk about what they believe legacy is, and to help us think about some different ways that we can leave a legacy if we don't already have something in mind. And even if we don't leave a legacy, is there anything wrong with that? Do we have to leave a legacy? No, of course not. It's whatever is important to us. So a little myth I have up here on the screen is a lot of people, not a lot, but a number of people think, I don't have a legacy to leave. Is that true? Is there anyone who doesn't have a legacy to leave? No, I think we all have a legacy of some sort. It just depends whether we're intentional about doing things to make sure our legacy is known versus just whatever happens when we pass away being the way it is, if that kind of makes sense. So who's been to a funeral recently? Anyone been to a funeral? Yeah, a lot of us. So if you think back to the funeral you've been to, did that person leave a legacy? When the minister, the priest, whoever was giving the eulogy, were they able to kind of give you a sense of that person's life? So sometimes, I know I've been to funerals, it's like, wow, that person did a lot, or they impacted a lot of people, or they did good in the community. Can anyone relate to going to that kind of funeral? You walk away going, that was a really good funeral in terms of reminding us of the great life that person lived. And then have you been to another funeral where they don't really say a whole lot? It's kind of like off a script. It's like they were great mom and dad and grandfather, and that's kind of it. That's all there was. Anyone been to one of those funerals? Or maybe you've read obituaries. Sometimes you'll read an obituary and it's like, wow, that person lived, did a lot. And then you'll read another obituary and it's like very generic. Yeah. Nothing right or wrong with either one. But sometimes I think it's because we didn't share about our life for someone to be able to say the great things we did, that we're a great grandparent, a great parent, a great school teacher, whatever it might be. Sometimes we haven't imparted the knowledge about our accomplishments or what was important to us to others for them to be able to pass that on and for us to live after we've gone. Can we hold questions to the end? Is that okay, Vicky? Yeah, so we all definitely have a... Alexa, could you help me with the clicker? Now it's going backwards. Maybe I have it upside down. The button's stuck. Yeah, so the truth is everybody leaves a legacy. So what we're going to talk about today, this thing's driving me crazy, is a little bit more about what is a legacy. And you've already shared some different definitions of a legacy, some of the different legacy types, and then some action steps that we can all take if we choose to help make sure that we're remembered after we are gone. Unless, of course, anyone plans on not leaving this earth. And if you've worked out how to do that, I'd love to know, because I'd love to be around for a long, long time. Frank's got it worked out. Okay. So could I have my two expert panelists come up and join me, Phyllis and Eden? I'm not sure. I think it's working okay now, actually. Yeah, you can. And just while they're coming up, you'll see we have actually 3 names on the screen. Unfortunately, one of our panelists called us last night, I don't know, just after 5 o'clock. She knew she was going to be on jury duty this afternoon. And guess what the judge decided? He wanted to play golf in the afternoon, so they were going to do the trial in the morning so he could be free to golf or ski or whatever. And they only let her know at about 5:15 last night that she needed to be there at 8:30 this morning. So unfortunately, Becca is unable to be with us. But I have the best 2 panelists possible who are here today, both Eden and Phyllis. So I'd like to start off with some introductions, and let me just help you with both. Get that turned on. There you go, Phyllis. You want Eden? Yeah, maybe I can start with you, Eden. Who you are, the organization you're with, and why you're here today.
Great. My name is Eaton Dunkelberger. I lead the Community Foundation of Northern Nevada. And the Community Foundation is a 501c3 nonprofit. They exist in all the communities across the country, really with the goal of helping to both grow philanthropy in our community and then make that philanthropy more efficient and effective. So make that those philanthropic dollars go as far as they can in our community. Our community foundation has been serving this region for 25 years. And I think the reason Brett asked me and Annette asked me to join today was just we work with a lot of families on their legacy planning, because that's a large opportunity to think about philanthropic giving in the community. And so really glad to be here. So thanks a lot.
Wonderful. Thank you, Eden. Phyllis.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm Phyllis Clark, and I am the past chair of the Advisory Council at OLLI, which is the Osher Lifelong Learning Institute at UNR. And we are under the umbrella of the Sanford Center, who's one of your sponsors here. What I have been doing for the past over 10 years is leading a Lifescapes class, which is a memoir writing class for seniors, which helps us to put down our memories, our life, and whatever we want to leave behind for people to know. So I'm very happy to be here and to acquaint you with some of the things that we do at Lifescapes, and also encourage attendance at OLLI, which is a wonderful organization that promotes lifelong learning for adults 50 and over. You never stop learning. If you stop learning, you slide backwards. So thank you for having me here, Brett.
Thank you so much, Phyllis. And we don't have to worry about this group learning, because they keep coming every month. They're learning based. It's the people who aren't here that we need to worry about, who have stopped learning, perhaps. Yeah. So maybe if I can start with you, Phyllis, what does legacy mean to you?
Well, legacy to me is what you leave behind. It could be your money, it could be your heirlooms, or it could be your life. What did you do? What would you like your children and grandchildren and anybody to know about you and your life? And that's the purpose of Lifescapes, to write down the story of our life the way we would like to write it and the way we want it told. You were using the analogy of a funeral and a eulogy or an obituary, which sometimes doesn't tell very much about the person. The only way we can know about the person is if we tell about it. For instance, there might be an heirloom that you have. Maybe it's a clock from your grandfather. There's probably a story behind that you would like other people to know. Maybe there's a quilt that your great-grandmother made, and there's definitely a story behind that. So unless you tell that story, nobody's going to know it. So that's my idea of a legacy, a personal legacy.
Wonderful. I love that definition. Eaton, what does legacy mean to you?
You know, we think about legacy as anytime you make an impact on someone, and that can be thinking about impact in your family. It could be thinking about an impact on your friends and neighbors. It can be thinking about an impact on your broader community. But those impacts make lasting change on individuals, both during your life and after your life. And so we tend to think about those as a legacy as making an impact on the people, the environment, the animals, the community around you, truly as a legacy. And yeah, that's how we really start to think about framing a legacy with folks.
No, I love that. But I think we all have an impact on other people, just whether we realize it or not, don't we? Just from our words and our actions, we're all having an impact. It's whether perhaps we're being purposeful about that impact that we're having, that we want something left after we're gone, and we know that's being left after we're gone. But yeah, I'm sure we've all, who has children? Anybody? Would it not be true that we've had an impact, good or bad, on them? Yeah. Hopefully for the good, but yeah, we're always having an impact, our friends, our neighbors. Yeah. Excellent. So let's talk about different types of legacy. Are there different categories of legacy? So obviously we're talking about, well, I'll let you say, there's one dear to your heart, obviously.
You know, we tend to focus on the type of legacy that makes an impact typically on the broader community, which is, you know, an impact you can make through philanthropic giving. And yeah, one of my absolute favorite legacies at the Community Foundation, former physician in town, Dr. Ballantyne, he had an opportunity where someone helped pay for him to attend preschool. And that started an educational career that culminated in him being a physician locally. And as he was approaching end of life, he worked with his family to establish a scholarship, but not in a scholarship that you would typically think of sending a child to college. Instead, this was a scholarship for low-income students to attend preschool. In the research he had done that is pretty widely known, access to preschool is an incredible indicator to your likelihood of graduating from high school and then attending higher education. And so he actually set up and established the processes by which you could create a preschool scholarship. And we still operate that. And it's one of the like the really cutest times in our office, because typically mothers with 3-year-olds come, and we actually, there's an individual there that actually tests these young students for preschool readiness, right? You want to match readiness with ability, and they apply for the scholarship. And it has been going long enough now that one of the first high school graduates from this scholarship program is attending Stanford University. He is a member of the Washoe tribe, and he is planning to become a physician and return to this area and provide physician care to members of his tribe, which is just talk about a full circle. So yeah, that's my favorite.
Yeah, no, thank you for sharing that. That's really neat. And sorry, I don't remember the doctor's name again, Dr.
Ballantyne.
Yeah, he's definitely going to be remembered by that student who's going to, yeah, and many other people that new doctor is going to impact.
Right.
Yeah, that's really neat. So, Phyllis, what's another type of legacy? If we were to think of different categories, so philanthropic is one. What's another category of legacy?
Well, I would say a personal legacy, something that tells about your life, about what you've done, and something that would leave for your children, for your grandchildren, for whoever was interested, something they could read and know, oh, this person did such and such. I never realized that. I thought she was just a little old lady. And she drove all over the country in an RV when she was in her 70s, or she went hiked through the mountains in Croatia. So it could be anybody's legacy, or somebody who had canoed down the Mississippi River. I'm teasing right here. There's a gentleman here that has done that, and to write it down in a form that other people can understand. I mean, sometimes I didn't listen to the tales that my grandmother and great aunts told. My great grandfather fought in the Civil War. I never knew that until I was grown. I never, it was okay, the old folks, they're talking. But if you write it down, if I had listened and wrote that down, that would be a legacy that my grandmother would have left, besides her china or her silverware, which is it's fine to have a legacy like that. But what does that mean? How did she get that? Where did it come from? What's the story behind it? So it's the same with your own life. Maybe there are things you are going to leave your children, material things. They would probably like to know the story behind it. Or they would like to know what you did, what your life was like as a child when you went to school. Were you walking uphill both ways in the snow? Or, what was your school like? What was your high school like? What was it like in the 50s or 60s? Something that you could write down and leave for them to read. So that's a personal legacy to me. It's something that nobody else can leave. Nobody else can tell that story but you. And it's your story. It's not your sister's story. She might have a different story, but it's your story.
Thank you. Makes me think back to stories that my grandparents told me, and I wish I'd paid more attention to them. I wish they'd written it down or recorded it in some way. It's like, oh, I know they told me, but now I can't remember who was who. Especially like family tree about, my great grandparents and their story. I know I was told that, being a 10-year-old at the time, didn't necessarily take it all in. So yeah, I like that, being able to pass that down. On your handout, actually, on the second page, if you haven't already turned it over, we've listed there the different legacy types. So maybe one of those resonates with you. And Eden, did you want to talk about any of the other legacy types, or Phyllis, that we have put up on the screen?
Just as a note on what Phyllis had said, it just reminded me of a memory that my grandmother passed when I was maybe 8 years old. But my parents, before she died, had taken the time to create a set of about 5 audio tapes where she described her life, probably from about when she was, in entering teenagehood until about age 40 or something. What was life like? And I had only known her, my mom grew up in New Orleans. I only knew my grandmother as a woman in her 70s that lived in New Orleans. And I was in the Marine Corps at the time and transitioning duty stations. Still had a car with a tape deck and needed to take my mind off, the nervousness of going to this next duty station. So I put these tapes in, and it was such a magical legacy to not just learn about my grandmother, but also my aunts and uncles, who I didn't know much about their life growing up. It was just really fascinating. So that was a true gift. And I think maybe an example of personal legacy, but also for me, a really educational legacy. I didn't know much about what life had been like, let's say in the 50s or something similar. And that was really a special opportunity.
And I would think to hear her voice as well.
But that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, you have maybe a spiritual legacy. Maybe you were involved in a particular church, or maybe a philosophy, certain ideas that you would like to pass along to to other people. Your life, not only your life story, but the way you lived your life and why. That would be a spiritual legacy that might be very important to other people to know. That's why you are the way you are, because of what you believed and how important that was to you. Maybe you were a lifelong church member, or maybe you converted later in life, or had a spiritual awakening, and it would be good to have that remembered.
So we're going to talk more about lifescapes, but we could do that in writing, or as Eden just mentioned, audio record. You can buy electronic audio recorders now, unless you still have cassette tapes, but I'd suggest a digital audio recorder. or even on your phone has it now to simply be able to just record and then have someone else help you compile and save those. So I just want to go back to the philanthropic that we started with. So do we need to be independently wealthy? Do we need to be an Elon Musk to be able to do something in the philanthropic realm? If I came to the Community Foundation of Northern Nevada, do I need to have millions and millions of dollars to be able to make an impact?
I think that actually is the beauty of philanthropy, is that you don't need to be ultra high net worth to be a philanthropist. We probably all experience the joy of giving to local nonprofits, particularly at the time of the holidays. I mean, that can be can and coat drives, that can be giving things to thrift shops that support local nonprofits. I mean, there are so many ways to be philanthropic. And in fact, I think I've seen studies recently that show that there is kind of an inverse relationship up to a certain point of wealth with the percentage of the wealth that you actually give. So many of our moderately income friends and neighbors are giving a higher percentage of their wealth to charitable giving than, the highest income brackets within our community. It starts to turn the other way at the 100 richest people in the world or something, but it's really fascinating. And legacy is one of those opportunities, I think, to really tap into philanthropy, because it's so often in our lives we're concerned about the future, and we need to provide for ourselves and our family and our spouses, et cetera, as a primary need. And as you transition from that need, there's a lot of opportunity to really think about legacy through philanthropy that can be really, really powerful.
So could you share maybe some examples how the Community Foundation help here in our community, and maybe also touch on local philanthropic efforts versus national?
Yeah. So I may take those in a different order. The Community Foundation, we support people giving to any cause that they would like to. We help them vet that cause and make sure that the good they want to see in the world is going to happen through their giving. But we do encourage people to think about giving locally. And there's a few reasons for that. One, frankly, our region has a very hard time. We miss some of the financial streams that other communities have. We're a newer state, we're a smaller state, small state government. We don't bring a lot of federal dollars back into our community. And so philanthropy really plays an outsized role in us thriving here, and then the people behind us continuing to thrive here. So really important. The other incredible thing I think about giving locally is you can see in your lifetime the impacts. If you want, you can get engaged with that nonprofit, which can be incredibly helpful in terms of building community, sense of purpose, thinking about making an impact bigger than yourself. And you can actually see the impacts and evaluate those and watch them evolve as you continue through your life. You can watch this nonprofit evolve, and if it goes in a different direction, you can choose another one as well, which is great. The final part about giving locally that I think is really important is that it actually creates a tremendous amount of economic benefit here locally when we give locally. So studies show that when you give $1 to a local nonprofit, that actually creates $3 of economic impact. So think about the single mom that might be driving the truck that's carrying the coats from the coat drive to the local school or something similar, right? You're providing economic impact to individuals in our community that really accrues to, I think, the people that need it the most. And so that's really, I think, can be really powerful as well. So, and Brett, I apologize, I forgot the first question and getting on that soapbox.
I hadn't really thought about the impact that it has by local. It's not just that one, it has a much bigger ripple effect. So you mentioned about being able to get involved. I was thinking whatever I'm doing is after I'm gone, but you were talking about doing something now. So what would some examples be while I'm alive, being part of something that then maybe money goes to help continue? What would some examples be?
There's a few approaches, right? Some folks really like to be anonymous in their giving, and they'd like to be stand apart from even a legacy gift, right? Like not let the nonprofit know that it's coming, not be engaged there. And I think that's a fine approach, and there's lots of reasons for that. And if you have the interest, I think letting a nonprofit know that you are going to be including them, let's say in a will or an estate plan, can create those really special opportunities to be engaged in their mission. You know, that might mean going on a tour once a year, or it might mean you get an annual report in the mail or over email or something similar. It might be just a personal conversation by phone with somebody at the organization to learn more about where they are going and what their challenges are and what their hopes and aspirations are and what they could do to put your charitable gift to work to help the people that they serve. And so I think a great example of that is we have a family, husband and wife, that are care deeply about local journalism. They are really concerned that there's not money in the system of newspapers anymore to put somebody necessarily on the local beat to watch every city council meeting, every county commission meeting, those types of things. And they're concerned about that. And so they're not in a position today to be able to give to support local journalism at the way that they would like to, but they don't have children, and they've dedicated their estate to increasing access to local journalism. And I think what they've actually let the organization is KUNR, so our local NPR station that is dedicating dollars to local journalism. And what they've been able to do is meet some of the local journalists at an event or something similar. They've been able to learn about the strategic direction for KUNR around local journalism, and that's helped them guide their giving a little better, but it's also provided them an emotional connection to this cause that they care deeply about, and a connection to local experts, which is for them, just watch them light up because they have this connection to this cause that is really special. So they don't just have this head connection to the cause, but then now they have a heart connection. They've got access to facts. They just feel so much more confident in what they're doing and what will happen when they're not here to watch the impact of their gift, which is really special.
Yeah. So I could potentially go and volunteer at some of these organizations before deciding that's where I want to assist.
That can be an amazing opportunity as well. You know, we see, we work with a lot of individuals whose networks are getting smaller because friends and family pass away or are having health challenges or something similar. And volunteering has been shown time and again to be an opportunity where not only do you get out of yourself, but you also start to build more community, which can be really helpful in this time where it could be quite isolating.
So do I have to have hundreds of thousands of dollars sitting in a bank account if I want to work with the community foundation?
Yeah.
Or are there other sources that maybe we're not thinking about?
That's a great question. Yeah, there's so the short answer is no. You don't need to be uber wealthy, and I think cash is although it's really effective vehicle for charitable giving, there's lots of options. So we talk with folks about residences. We talk to folks about life insurance plans. We talk to folks about something as simple as a 401k or an IRA, thinking about who is the beneficiary. You've probably filled out those forms every few years around who is the beneficiary, and thinking about potentially a nonprofit or a specific cause to be that beneficiary. Essentially, everything that you have of value can be converted into a charitable deduction that can make a big impact in the community.
So that adult child that's no longer giving me Christmas gifts, I could change the benefit.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. We see that quite a bit. And we could do that anonymously or not, depending on your. Yeah.
And you mentioned resonance. What did you mean by that?
Yeah. So I was thinking, your home, clearly, but then it could also be a second home. We find quite a few folks that have investment properties. They might have an apartment or something similar, or a house that they're renting out. And the pain of being a landlord can just be, it's a lot. And so thinking about how we can convert that into either today charitable giving or future charitable giving could be really helpful.
So if I had a home and I don't like my adult kids, how does that look if I want
Yeah.
to?
Well, and I just want to push on that a little bit. Even if you like your adult kids,
We all love
yes,
adult.
yeah. I mean, money can be a gift, but it can also be a burden. You know, and there are lots of things that can come to particularly young adults that are not that healthy. And if they are maybe struggling through some opportunity, like some challenges, finding themselves or substance abuse or those types of things, those are heartbreaking, but they're not typically things money solves. And so we work with a lot of families to think about what is the dollars I might transfer that would be a gift, and what are the dollars you might give to a family member that might actually compound a problem or become a challenge. And lots of great folks professionally can help you through that, as well, estate planning attorneys, et cetera. But really important to think through. So, but if you have decided that your house is not something that you want to gift to your adult children after you pass, there's lots of ways to think about incorporating that into a charitable giving plan. Some nonprofit organizations might actually utilize that house as a transitional opportunity for the clients they serve. More likely, they will help them convert that to cash that they can then use to put directly into their mission to help push things forward.
Wonderful. Phyllis, I know you're keen. I saw you.
No, I wanted to ask
Please.
Eaton a question.
Oh, please.
We all have stuff.
Anybody got stuff? Show of hands. Yeah. No one here. No.
I mean, I think about some of the stuff that I'm paying storage for, that are things that I don't want to just donate. There might be some value to them. How would that be able to help an organization? How could we either leave that or convert it now to help with a community foundation?
Yeah, it's a great question. And it is really stuff dependent. Interestingly, I mean, it is interestingly kind of value is in the eye of the beholder quite often, but we do have lots of stuff. And we had recently a gentleman come to us. He has amassed a $250,000 wine collection. That is, I mean, wow, right? Yes, I know. We should be so lucky, right? That would be wonderful. He's realized he will not drink it through the course of his life, which is probably not surprising. So he
got a room full of volunteers.
Yes, good. Well, we know who the next sponsor is. Yeah. He approached a local nonprofit thinking, wow, this would be a great gift to make to a nonprofit agency that can use this. And you could watch the executive director's eyes. You may have seen Kurt Misha over PBS Reno. He's always on TV, and he was so thankful and so concerned that this individual was going to bring the truck up and start unloading bottles and bottles of wine on their front steps at their office on the UNR campus. And so, they called us to help them think through that, right? And so I think it often is sometimes in the eye of the beholder. And there's different types of things. Some things are valuable because they're your own history with them or your own story with them, and other things are valuable because of their market price. And it's hard to evaluate those two things, but typically I think maybe separating the things that you think about might have tangible value to a nonprofit, like home goods that they could immediately give to people that might be starting a house afresh or something similar. A domestic violence resource center, they might have women that are moving into a new home and could use a starter set or something similar. That's really valuable for one reason, but they might not attach the same value to your grandmother's china or something similar that may have a tremendous family value, but not as much. That probably won't carry through.
Thank you. It's very interesting because we all have stuff. Yeah.
And I think Eaton was politely saying, don't take all the stuff that you don't need anymore and bring it down to his office. Is that what I was kind of, yeah. He's not on the donation list or where to take the unneeded stuff.
or leave it as a legacy for your children to deal with.
I think there's a number of people here in the audience who have that in mind. I'm just going to leave it and it's their problem. Yeah, I don't know if that's a legacy, but that's one way to deal with it. So Phyllis, tell us a little bit more about the Lifescapes program, because Eaton touched on like community, bringing people together. And I think that's part of what Lifescapes does. But just tell us a little bit about the program and what are the kind of things that people are documenting? What is of interest to others?
Thank you. Lifescapes is a memoir writing program. It is not a creative writing class, but it's an opportunity for seniors to write down their stories. It's kind of structured. We have 3 classes at Ollie because we have so many that are interested, and our classes are limited to about 20 people so that everybody has a chance to participate. What we do is take a theme for the year. This year's theme is travel, and the facilitators find stories to read to the class to prompt their ideas of travel. Maybe they traveled in their youth, maybe they hitchhiked around Europe or around California, or maybe they went cruising when they were older. Many things they could write about, or maybe they wished they had traveled, or maybe they would think of a trip that would be fantastic if they could take it. So there's all these different ideas that we give them. We have them write, and then at the next meeting, they can read their story aloud to the class. They don't have to, but they do. And it's amazing the stories that people have, the things that people our age have done, the places they've gone. It's like, the Dr. Seuss, the places you go, the things you've seen. And it really is wonderful to hear. You don't have to be a great writer. You just have to have an imagination and a willingness to put down what you write. We also take some of these stories. We encourage everyone to contribute to an anthology that we do every year. This is our last anthology. We have stories from everybody in the classes. The theme of that year was serendipity. We found that kind of hard. This year's theme is a lot easier to write about, but everybody's story is in there that wanted to contribute. Alvin's got a story in there. I've got a story in there. We have about 50 stories in there from all these different classes that we've had. Our classes are hybrid, which means that they are in person and also on Zoom. So you don't have to be living right in Reno to join our class. In my class, I have a lady in Gardnerville that comes in on Zoom and a lady in California because we have that capability. So you can come, or if the weather's bad, you can just come in on Zoom. We also encourage people to write their own stories. And thank you. This is a book I wrote some time ago, telling about my adventures in Peace Corps South Africa when I was 65. So people can have their stories written down, printed. Ollie will print them, and each person gets 5 copies of their own story. If they want more, they can purchase them. So every year we distribute the anthologies to everybody that's contributed, and we put them in our library at Ollie and also on our website. So we have stories going back to the beginning of Ollie back in 2006. We have stories from there. So you can look that up. All you'd have to do is Google Reno Lifescapes, and you could find those stories. We encourage people to come to the class. You do have to be an Ollie member to join the classes. I used to have a class up at the Northwest Library that you didn't have to be an Ollie member to join, but unfortunately that class is no longer viable. We couldn't use Zoom there, and it just kind of faded away during the pandemic. I'd like to get it started again, but that's probably not going to happen in the near future. So there are there is another Lifescapes class in Sparks, at the Sparks Museum, if you're interested in that. We have 2 classes at Ollie and 1 at the South Reno Library. So they're for anybody to join. It's still possible to join one of my classes. I think some of the other classes are full, but it's still possible to join. We will be resuming in January. We had our last class in December. Our last class was Tuesday, and we will be joining up again in January, on January 6th. And is there anything else you'd like me to talk about?
Well, I have about 10 questions.
Okay, please do.
Is it okay if I ask some questions maybe you're thinking on your behalf? So the first one is, I saw shock on some people's faces when you said it's a writing program. The idea of writing doesn't appeal to everybody necessarily. Do I have to be a good writer? Do I have to be able to write, or am I going to get some help with that if I haven't kind of documented anything in a long time? Can I still come? And
you certainly can. You don't have to be a great writer. You just have to have your voice. It's just tell the story like you would tell it to your grandchild sitting there, and write it down. Don't worry about spelling. Don't worry about punctuation. You know, those things can be fixed by the magic of the internet and Word and all those wonderful programs. But you just have to be willing to put down your thoughts, and we'll help you. We don't criticize you. It's not a critique. We only give positive feedback. And your story may be a little wandering, maybe could use a little tightening up. Don't worry about it. It's your story. For instance, you might have had an experience and you write it down one way, and your sibling looks at it and said, that's not the way it happened. But it's the way you remember it. So that's the way it happened to you. Your sibling probably looked at something different, but don't worry about that. And it's not an autobiography. Nobody's going to fact check you. You got the date wrong. No, it's what you remember. It's not, I'm not teaching you how to write. I'll help you write if you have trouble, but I haven't seen people have trouble. They really, once they get into it, they can put down their stories. You don't have to be an expert at the computer. You can handwrite it if you want. If you want to do it on the computer, that's fine. That's much more helpful, but just get it, make sure that it's your story. Don't worry about being the greatest writer or a biographer. Just tell your story. Was there anything else that I forgot?
I've got 9 questions.
Okay.
So I have no thoughts. I can't think of a story. I haven't done any travel. Are you going to help me with that, or can I still come? And
you can still come. You don't have to write every time. But the stories that we read, we have questions that go with them, and that kind of can trigger an idea. And if you haven't traveled, well, maybe you'd like to travel. Where would you like to go? Would you like to go to Paris? Could you imagine a story where you went to Paris and you saw all the sights? Or maybe you would like to travel to Japan and go to Tokyo or to India or someplace like that. Or maybe you took a little trip when you were a kid with your folks and they traveled in an old car and the car kept breaking down, and things like that. Those things are important because they tell anybody that's reading that what it was like and what it was like in your childhood. I remember traveling in a Jeep, a Willys Jeep that had bench seats, and my mother and father were in the front, and then there were a couple of people that sat in the next row, and I had to sit on a camp stool in the very back. And we traveled from Massachusetts up to New Hampshire every year. And, those were some of the most enjoyable and awful things in my life. So you can write them down. It doesn't have to be great. It can be the time the cat got away or something like that. So, but if you get stuck, I can help you, and others in the class will help you. And I think listening to the other people's stories really gives you an idea of what you can write and what you can tell and what people are interested in. And if you don't want to write on the subject, just write down whatever you like. Just make sure it's your story. It's not a fiction class. It's got to be, but then who would know? Maybe it is something. I wouldn't know.
That sounds like a great, safe environment to help get our creative juices flowing to be able to share the wonderful lives that we're all living.
It is, and it's non-threatening, and it becomes bonding. You get to know the people in the class, and you really can appreciate them from what their stories are telling, and it stimulates some great friendships.
Thank you so much. And the last question, who's not familiar with Ollie? Who doesn't know what Ollie is? Do we all know what Ollie is? Ollie is a couple. So as Phyllis said, the Osher Lifelong Institute,
Lifelong Learning Institute.
Thank you,
yes.
Phyllis, which is part of the now Sanford Center for Aging, which is one of our education partners, which are part of the university. And you said there's a cost. So what is a membership to Ollie, if you know?
The full year's membership for Ollie is $85. That allows you to attend all the classes, all the social events. We're having an open house tomorrow for the holidays, where we'll have in our ukulele class will entertain us. Believe it or not, it's one of the most popular classes at Ollie. We also have hiking, all kinds of outdoor activities. We have programs by professors at the university. We have on all kinds of subjects, from Shakespeare to science to animals to outdoors, all kinds of things like that. We have interest groups like like Lifescapes. We have a what used to be called Cracker Barrel, now it's Colloquy. It's like a discussion group. We have book groups, the mystery book group, the espionage book group, the nature lovers books group, great books, poetry, all kinds of things for that $85. Also, since half the year is gone, we do have a semester for $50 from January through June 30th. You can join for $50. And we also have a remote membership where you can come in on Zoom to any of the classes and also watch the recordings. We record most of the programs, and that's $55. And that you don't even have to be living in Reno. You could be, we have people in Arizona, we have people in Idaho, we have people in California, or people who are isolated and can't get out. They can participate by using the $55 a year remote membership. So we'd love to have you join us. It's fun. There's all kinds of things, something for everybody. And it's keeps us learning. We stop learning, as I said before, we just stop. So it's a chance to socialize, to meet new people, and to enjoy the wonderful benefits of Ollie. I'm promoting that because it's very dear to my heart. It's been very good to me, and I've enjoyed it for many years. And so do most of the people. I know we have an Ollie member here. Alvin has joined us, and we have Gary and Crystal, who have brought me here. They were kind enough to Crystal gave me a ride here. And
Thank you, Crystal.
yeah, and so it's a wonderful group. It's similar to this. I'm looking at you all here, and it could be an Ollie class because you're all interested, you're all aware, and you're all friendly. So thank you for inviting me.
No, thank you, Phyllis. Do we have any other Ollie members here? I'm sure we do. Yeah, look at the hands all go up. Yeah, so lots of friends from Ollie here. It's a great program. Gary, come up. Let me give you a microphone.
Oh, yes. Yes, we do have scholarships available. No financial forms to fill out. Just let somebody know that you let the office know that you would like a scholarship, and we don't want anything to keep people from joining. So we're very glad to give out those scholarships. They were legacies from people who gave money and set up these trusts for scholarships. So there's another way legacy can carry forth. So by all means, let people know. If you know people that would like to join but are hesitant because of the cost, that's covered. Don't let that stop you.
No, thank you so much, Phyllis. Yeah, and if you know people who are maybe socially isolated, and would benefit from being with other people and interacting, Ollie's such a great program. So again, yeah, as Phyllis said, don't let cost be an issue. And bring them here too.
Yeah.
Yes. So thank you. I'm just looking at the time. Eden, anything you'd like to add?
Let me think about that. Maybe.
And while you're thinking, I'll
Yes.
put a slide up. So my other question was, so we've talked about writing as far as being able to share our stories. What other tips do we have as far as being able to share our life, our stories, other than writing? What comes to mind?
Well, you had mentioned recording those tapes that Eaton was talking about. Nobody has tapes anymore. I had a whole box full of them that my daughter decided were going to go in the trash, unfortunately. But you can record it on your phone. You can record it on other means, I guess, on your computer. So there's recording. You can write in a journal. Some people do that all the time, a journal or a diary. You can talk to a grandchild, perhaps, that would like to write this down. Sometimes there's an assignment that they're given. Go talk to an older person and ask them about what things were like way back in the 50s or the 60s or the 70s or the 80s. And they can write it down. I tell my kids or my grandkids that when I was a kid, the phone rang, you picked it up, and you answered it. If you wanted to make a phone call, you picked up the phone, and the operator said, "Number, please." And she connected you. So those are things like that that kids just can't believe. So you can talk to them. You can talk to your own kids and ask them about what they remember from their childhood. You might be surprised at what you hear. So that's just a few things I can think of that you don't have to actually write down.
Thank you. Actually, can I share a great suggestion that Becca made, who unfortunately is not with us today, but if it was something you're wanting to do, document your life in some way, she made the suggestion, if I have this right, it's a great opportunity to get together with a grandchild who's technically savvy, knows how to use like an iPhone or video record. And Becca suggested you write down the questions that you would like to be interviewed and then have your grandchild ask you. So, Ray, please tell me about what it was like when you were a teenager. What were the things that stood out in your life? And then, the grandchild is recording that, and the grandchild's going to know how to keep the different videos. And then, the next question might be, well, tell me about your career. Tell me about, accomplishments. Tell me about the family. Tell me about, and having a grandchild they're learning from you directly. So it's a really good bonding experience, Becca was suggesting. And at the same time, you're accomplishing your goal of being able to have that recorded and then give that to other members of the family of your life. And I thought that was such a great suggestion because, using technology is not always the easiest thing, but
right.
And then the second part was, that opportunity to, share directly with someone, and then them being able to watch it, after we've gone, in 30 years time, they'll remember that.
If the technology hasn't changed so much.
I was just thinking, even if you do know how to use the technology, that could be an opportunity to play dumb because you give them the opportunity to really feel like they're, they're
I'm-
needed as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I need your help. Would you be
Right,
willing to do this
right.
project with me? I'm trying to remember what else other Becca said. Yeah, up on the
But
screen.
you know,
digital
Becca
photo-
talked a lot about enrolling family and how important that is, and thinking about passing on stories or those types of things. That does tie a little bit to philanthropic giving, which we'll see. Sometimes folks don't know what they're going to want to give to, or they have a sense of a cause that they care deeply about, but they, well, let's hope we have 10, 20, 30 years and until our legacy is actually realized. Some folks have chosen to actually enroll their family members as the individuals that make the decisions as to where the charitable contributions from their legacy plan go, as a way to bring their family together after they pass. And so this idea of having a kind of an annual time where the family comes together and they have this gift now of a charitable bank account, essentially, that they're able to put to work on behalf of your legacy into the community, can be really special. So that's a model that families use at the Community Foundation. I think that whether that be they come together as a scholarship review committee, or they come together as a focusing on, let's say, supporting pets for pets of individuals that are homeless or something similar. It's hard to know exactly what the future will look like, 10, 20 years ago for that specific, or 10, 20 years from now for that specific issue, but bringing the family together to think about how to make that impact on your behalf not only creates that legacy, but it also embeds that legacy, and family or even friends can serve as that within those capacities as well.
So just following up on that, if I know I do have some resources, a house or a 401k or whatever it might be, and I would like to explore it further, and I don't know what impact I'd like to have, is that something you and your team could help with, explore? Here's what I have that I would like you to, take, whether it's pooled together or it goes to something. Is that something you could help us, explore?
That is a not a unique situation. Many people feel like they want to make an impact in the community, and they are almost paralyzed by feeling like they might make a mistake, right? Or they might get it wrong or go in the wrong direction, and they don't have that clear outcome or view. And so that's work we do with individuals all the time, which is try to narrow down. Maybe it's identifying the items in their, those inflection points in their life where they were provided serendipity or a helping hand or something similar that made their life smoother and more effective. Or it might be something they encountered through their life that made a positive impact for them. Or it might be an issue that they see as growing and going in the wrong direction that they care deeply about being part of the solution for. And so we work with them to talk through those things to really narrow down to then a cause or issue. And then even from there, a nonprofit organization, and even from there, a program at a nonprofit organization, right? There's a lot of funnels to go through to figure out exactly where you might want to make an impact.
Thank you. So one other Becca had mentioned was photographs. She was talking about photographs. Who has photo albums of lots of photos? Yeah, lots of us. What's going to happen to those when we pass? I hear trash, they're going to be burnt, someone else's problem. Wouldn't it be great to be able to take those and share the stories behind maybe some of those photos? So Becca was talking also about getting the help of a grandchild to help digitize those and then kind of document the important ones. Like, where was that from? Who is it is in the photo? So just another idea to throw out there, if that's important to you and you have photos and want to take the time and you've got someone who can help you maybe scan and digitize those, that's another great way of passing that on. So I just wanted to mention in your handout on the second page at the bottom, we have listed some resources. So the first one is, if you're interested in the Ollie Lifescapes program, I know Phyllis brought along some information. Gary and Crystal outside at the UNR table have more information you can pick up on your way out. But on the handout is the website to go to for Ollie if you want to find out more. I'm pretty sure the program is up there. The semester calendar is on the website. Crystal's saying yes. So if you want to kind of get an idea of what's available at Ollie, lots and lots of programs, go there and have a look. Second one is the Community Foundation of Northern Nevada, their website. And on the front page is the phone number for the Community Foundation if you want to reach out to Eaton and his team and explore that further. And then a couple of others that came up. Storyworth.com is listed here. And where that came from is Annette, my wife Annette and I were actually visiting family a month ago, just before Thanksgiving. And Annette's aunt had been working on this project using this Storyworth website. And the end result was a published book, kind of like what Phyllis was talking about, of Annette's aunt's life. And the way it came about is her aunt got, I think it was her niece, wasn't it, Annette? Yeah, her niece to interview her over a 2-year period. And this Storyworth, if you go on, it kind of has all of the questions to kind of prompt, kind of like we were talking about, you know, your childhood, achievements, accomplishments, family, and so forth. And it helps you go through the process and put together this book. And I had the opportunity to sit down and go through Aunt Sue's book. And it was really amazing. The story she had as a child and marriage and her kids and grandkids. Yeah, it was just really neat. It was just kind of, it was a great legacy. So she gifted that to all of her grandchildren as a gift. And I thought that was really neat. That's something they'll have for a long time. So that might be another one you want to check out, is storyworth.com. And then what else did I put up? Oh, Peekaboo. So photo books are another great way. And actually I have one here. My mother-in-law put together this book. So it's a bound book with all sorts of you know, photos for those who can see. And you're welcome to come and have a look here after the seminar. But she went back and documented her life story of immigrating from Switzerland to here. So it's got photos of the village she grew up in, the ship that she came over on, landing in the US, where she grew up here in the US, and just stories behind it all. Not big, long stories, but you know, just descriptions basically of what all the photos are. So again, you or with the help of someone else can go onto peekaboo.com, start uploading photos, writing the text of what the meanings are. I thought that's another really fantastic way of, you know, leaving something for others to be able to look at. So peekaboo.com, it's not on your handout. I thought of this early this morning. So if you are interested in that, you'll just need to write that down, peekaboo.com. It's very easy to use. Again, upload photos. And if you want to have a look, you're welcome at the end. So thank you to my mother-in-law for that. And then another one that's also not on your handout, this gentleman, Ray Dalio. Has anyone ever heard his name? A few people have. Yeah, he's the guy who founded the largest hedge fund company in the world, Bridgeport Associates, is that it? Bridgewater, thank you. Bridgewater Associates, you know, billions and millions of dollars. But that's aside, but he wrote a really fantastic book called Principles, I guess 4 or 5 years ago. It's a really good read because he is a super successful guy, both personally and business and financial. But he wrote a book on what he wanted to impart to others is the principles he discovered through his journey in life that made him successful. And his premise was, have a look at my principles. And if you don't have principles, maybe you want to adopt some of these because they really helped him in his life, both personally and professionally. But from that, he decided, I really want to leave a legacy for my grandchildren. I really want to impact my grandchildren. So instead of the big long read of his main book, he created an illustrated version, I'm sure with the help of others. And it's an amazing book, I think, because we went through it with our son. You know, it's probably really hard for you to see, but you can, again, you're welcome to come up and have a look, where he's really taken the principles of life that would really help a grandchild be successful. Just really basic things, but in an illustrated form. And his purpose, or what he wanted adults to do, was hopefully buy this book and sit down and go through it with their grandchildren. Because it talks about the journey of life. I'm just trying to think, well, the one starting out is we all have decisions to make in life. True or false? True. And we can make good decisions and we can make bad decisions. True or false? But if we do some reading and research, we increase the odds of making a good decision. So he just talks about life being this series of decisions. And he has illustrations of like a boat going through the Amazon jungle, I guess, all the different rivers. There's all these different turns that we can make. And that's what the journey of life is. And we get to decide what those decisions are. But he makes a point. One principle is it's our decision to choose which direction we go in. We can either make the decision or we can allow the rest of the world to make the decision for us. but trying to explain that using the book makes it really easy to, our grandchildren or our children, that life is a choice and our outcomes are dependent on the choices we make, and we can make good or bad choices. So he just goes through all of these different principles in a really illustrated, easy way to understand that you could sit down with a grandchild, anyone probably from the age of 6 up, and kind of go through. And his suggestion is, just talk about it with whoever you're reading it to. What does that mean to you? Let me give you an example from my life, how that applied. Let me tell you about a bad decision I made and how it could have been a better decision. So I just thought that was really neat. So yeah, Principles for Success by Ray Dalio. And what else do we have on there? And then lastly, no, that didn't look very good. Well, I guess I don't have a slide for it, but there was another book, and it's in your handout. To Our Children's Children, Preserving Family Histories for Generations to Come. You can find it at the bookstore or on Amazon. Gets really good ratings. Again, a book to help us think about a legacy that we're going to leave and how do we go about it. Covers many of the things that we talked about today. I need a new clicker. So before we go to questions and answers, who has questions of our panelists? We have some questions? Oh, fantastic. Just before we do that, on the screen, you can see our 2024 schedule for next year. Kind of. Hopefully the one you have on your table looks a whole lot better than the one I have up on the screen. I don't know what has gone wrong with that. But we're excited to announce our schedule for next year. These are the 12 topics for next year. And in between, we're going to get them up on the website. There will be somewhere between 12 and 20 workshops that we're going to do as well. So there'll be the seminars and the monthly workshops, and we'll get that information up. Can I have my mic runners just come up and join me quickly? Lisa and Kim. And Kim, can you just introduce yourself?
Good morning. My name is Kim Brandt, and I work for Janelle Moves Made Easy. And what I do is I'm a move manager. So when anybody needs some help, downsizing, coordinating their move, give me a call. I have a table out front. So if you want to come see me, I have my business cards, information for you. And I've known many of you. I've met many of you, and I've helped you. So also spread the word to your friends who need some help.
Downsizers Club?
Oh, yes, I have a Downsizers Club. So we have a monthly online free being the operative word, workshop where we go through different activities during the downsizing process. Photos actually is one of our discussion items that we just talked about this last month. And upcoming, I'm hoping to do some estate sales, get you guys some knowledge about doing estate sales and other things that you're going to need and potentially want to learn about for downsizing. So join me. Again, see me out front or call me, call the office, and we'll get you set up on that.
Thank you, Kim. Lisa.
Good morning. My name's Lisa Fleck. I'm a mortgage advisor with Neo Home Loans. And I specialize in reverse mortgages, and just wanted to tell you that as the Fed is lowering the Fed funds rate, so that is going to impact interest rates on reverse mortgages. And what that means is that you're going to have access to more of the equity in your home. So the numbers may start to pencil out if that's something that you are looking at or considering.
Thank you. Good to know. So Lisa's going to take this side of the room, my right, and Kim, my left. And if you have a question, let's start down there with Joe. Just raise your hand and then we'll go over to Danielle.
Hello, my name is Joe Parks, and I want to thank Brett and Annette and Alexa and everybody for bringing Phyllis Clark here because she spoke so well about Lifescapes. I'm a member of Ollie also for a long time, off and on, and I've been a Lifescapes member for 20 years. It's the one in Sparks, at the Sparks Heritage Museum on Thursdays, second and fourth Thursday of every month at 1 o'clock. So anybody who doesn't want to drive all the way down to Moana can come and see us in Sparks. And Phyllis, your description of what it's like at Lifescapes is so great. We have only 10 members in our little group at the Sparks Heritage Museum, but I wouldn't give it up for the world. And as you can see, I've been there for 20 years to write all kinds of different stories. I've got yards of notebooks at home. So thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you, Joe.
Danielle, and then we'll come over to you, sir.
Is this on? Okay. This question is for Eaton. What if you have rentals, tired of managing, but the income tax is ridiculous to sell them or anything? Can you donate? Can you do anything about this?
Yeah,
Question.
yeah, great question. We help folks through that a lot. There's probably just two mechanisms I'd throw off the top of my head, but there's a lot of things to think about. One is called a zero tax sale. So this is where you don't have to think about giving a property as a binary function where you give all the property or none of the property. You can actually calculate how much of the property you need to give to totally eliminate the capital gains tax or income tax that you would be paying on that property. So that's called a zero tax sale. Typically, it's right around 30% of the value, but it's good to get the numbers in there depending on what it looks like. The other thing we work with some property owners is a charitable remainder trust. And so this is a opportunity where you donate the property and that property actually pays you a lifetime income, typically around 5% of the total value every year. And you get a charitable deduction on the net present value of the likely value when you pass. And so that gives you an opportunity to get a charitable deduction today that you can apply to your income taxes, and gives you a lifetime amount of income and a residual that actually goes to the charity of your choice. And that's called a charitable remainder unit trust. And we work with typically property owners that are landlords that don't want to be landlords anymore and are facing large capital gains taxes. That tends to be a really popular option for them as well. So those are two options, but there's many others as well.
Thank you.
Can you help us with the distinction between financial and philanthropic legacies? And can you suggest who could help us with the philanthropic side, someone who doesn't have an axe to grind?
I'm guessing that's for you, Edith.
But yeah, so community foundations, I guess we try to present ourselves as a neutral support for individuals thinking about philanthropy. There are many options you can choose in the community to help you with your charitable giving as well. Something is, you can work with an estate planning attorney and they will create a charitable giving plan as part of your estate as well. So I think there's a lot of options to think through. I guess I don't want to assume under the question, but I will just state emphatically that the Community Foundation exists to support donors' wishes in the community. And so I would suggest us as a group that doesn't have an axe to grind, but there's many options out there, certainly. Yeah.
No, the other part of the question was
Oh, yeah.
philanthropic versus financial legacy.
Yeah, this might be semantics, but I think of a financial legacy as actually transferring assets between people. So that might be to friends and family. It might be, business partners, et cetera. And I think of a philanthropic legacy as transferring assets to think about making an impact in the broader community.
The other one I think when it comes to financial that I think we lack in our society here is financial education for our children and our grandchildren, stuff we're not taught in school, how to kind of play the money game of life, how to make money work for you, how not to rack up credit card debt and all sorts of debts and end up, but just better financial education no matter what our age is would also be a good financial legacy. Talking to grandkids, let's learn together about how money works. Yeah. We had another question over.
I think this is for Eaton. What about collections that you inherit that you're not interested in? For instance, coin collections or stamp collections. We inherited 5 books of stamp collection and nobody really wants it. Would it belong to the estate selling, or could it go to a community philanthropic for you to sell and make money?
Yeah, we do help individuals bring things like that to sell. So similarly, like this wine collection is something that would be challenging for this individual to sell on his own, but we're helping to link him up with, this sounds, it is a wine auction house. It happens to be a high-end wine auction house, but they can work with collections of this size. I think the thing you want to make sure is just that the juice is worth the squeeze, right? Like different, I'm sorry, you want to make sure that the stamp collection has the value that going through the process is going to, at the end, be positively beneficial for charitable giving. And I think that's something that we can certainly help you take a first look at. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you. Over here.
My question is about, I guess it's about the lifescapes, but I wondered if there was a specific program to use for the digitizing. I know the phones will do it and the kids will say, Google it. Yeah, but if there is a specific, if anyone has a program that makes digitizing the photos and making those recorded legacies a little easier.
I'm sorry, I don't know how that would work, but I'm sure you could find it. Like you said, Google it. Perhaps the lady that wasn't able to be here would know those. Where was she from?
With memory care.
Memory care.
Stone Valley. I can offer maybe a tiny little bit because we went through that process, and unfortunately it's complicated. There's lots of bits and pieces. So it depends whether they're photos or negatives or film projector little things. Slides. Thank you. So we had a heap of old slides. So Kodak sell one for like $200. You just drop the slides in, hit the button, and then it saves it. You drop the next slide in. There's also services where you can send it in and they'll just do it all for you. They'll charge you a certain amount per slide. I think we covered that a couple of years ago. But if you want that, reach out to us and we can get you the information. And then there are other scanners for like photos where you can just drop the photos in and it'll scan them and then drop them all onto a computer. And then that's probably where a grandchild or someone else would be good then to take all of that to work out what to do with it, to put it on a little.
The hardware, not a software.
Yeah, combination of both. Okay. The hardware to take it from analog, the photo, to get it digital. But then you got to do something with that. Because then you're going to have all of these photos that then you want to do something with.
Even something like a Kinko's or FedEx store, at least for photographs, are willing to do that work on your behalf in terms of scanning or printing or those types of things. So
great suggestion. Yeah. Hopefully that helps a little bit. But if you reach out to our office, we had a resource document of all the different places that are where you can as I mentioned, package it up, send it off, and then they'll send it all back to you digitized, or go to a Kinko's. We had another question down the back here. Oh, sorry, over here.
Thank you for this program. This question is for you, Eaton. Why would I give through the community foundation if I'm prepared to set up a giving program myself?
Yeah, I think there's a few reasons. If you want to give your legacy to one nonprofit and you feel very confident that that's your plan, I think you should go do that and do it with a very happy heart. If as you think about aging and watching the success or challenges of different nonprofits, as you get older and you'd like someone kind of on your behalf, making sure that your wishes are going to be met, both leading into end of life, but all, that the nonprofit's still going in the same direction, still solvent, still has the program you care deeply about, those types of things. And, after you pass, that those wishes will be carried out, then I think that's a place that the Community Foundation helps provide a lot of comfort. The other thing I'll just mention, and we work with a lot of estate planning attorneys, you might say, I'm going to include 10 nonprofits in my estate plan, and here's the 10. And then the next year you want to swap one out or you want to add one. the attorneys don't love doing that work because they're charging the same amount to do just, a change to an estate plan. That's very simple, just a phone call and an email with the community foundation. So you can continue to update it for free with the community foundation. A very simple, low administrative process. So it's another, I think, benefit. And then the third thing is, I think it's fairly rare that folks know exactly what their charitable intent will be, and particularly what their charitable intent will be, let's say in 10 years or in 20 years as they establish a legacy plan. And so I do think there's value in having somebody that you can call at any time and say, here's what I'm thinking, how could I make this happen, or how might this change my charitable giving plan?
Thank you.
I have two questions. One is, I didn't catch whether the foundation itself is a charity that can be contributed to, and are you listed on Charity Navigator? And then the second question is, I stepped out, maybe somebody mentioned this already, but Ancestry.com is another place to upload photographs and other information that can then share it with not just somebody you hand a booklet to, but anybody who's researching their ancestry. And
thank you.
Yeah. So just to answer that question, the Community Foundation of Northern Nevada is a 501c3 nonprofit ourselves. We have 23 local board members that are our governance board, and they're on our website. We are on Charity Navigator. We post our tax filings and annual reports online. We really try to embody the highest level of transparency that we would like our nonprofit partners to similarly aspire to. Oh, wonderful. Thank you. Great.
We had one last question here, and we'll wrap up.
These are two quick questions because I know it's time to quit, but this is for Phyllis. Are these life stories about our entire past life, or just maybe one portion, maybe one decade when we did a lot of traveling, or does it matter how we do that?
It really doesn't matter. You can start with your first day of school or the first thing you remember and go through the entire life, or you can talk about a certain portion of it, like I did with my Peace Corps adventure. So it's just your story, whatever you would like to tell.
Right.
If you want to talk about your career, if you want to talk about your student days, if you want to talk about what you did in retirement, it's entirely up to you.
Great, thank you. The second one is regarding digitizing photos. I mean, I have a lot of photo albums that I took a lot of time to create, and I just can't imagine my children and grandchildren going to a computer all the time and looking at photos. I mean, of course, they're very computer literate. Anybody over 8 years old is, but I kind of decided I'll just leave all my albums, and if they want to get rid of them, they could do so. Otherwise, it's easy for them just to pick up an album and look, because I've got, the subject matter on the covers. What do you think of that?
Well, I think that's great. If they want to digitize it, if they want to put it in some sort of a form later, they can do that. But it is nice to just pick this up and say, okay, there's Kieran's baby picture, and there's Sebastian's kindergarten pictures, or there's the time we all went to Disneyland. It's there. So I think there's quite a bit of value in those. Maybe the next generation isn't going to feel the same way about it, but that's not our problem, is it?
Are you talking?
Well
are you
said.
talking
Well
about? Are you talking about the albums now, or the digitizing?
I'm talking about the albums that
Albums.
that can be valuable now, and if they want to digitize them,
Let them do it.
let them do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Perfect. Well, we're going to wrap up there. I just want to say thank you so much to everybody for being here. Thank you to our wonderful panelists, our education partners. I just want to wish you all Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and hopefully we'll see you next year.